I'm Jack Evans from Lake Wobegon Trail Gallery. I'm the photographer who took all the photographs that you see at the gallery here, or as we travel into the other space that we have. They're all photographs that I've taken. My wife and I always wanted to have a gallery, and we had a photography studio for quite a number of years. And a little over 6 years ago, she passed away from cancer. And so we opened our first gallery up over in Freeport in her memory. And this last year now we had an opportunity to purchase a building next to our studio in Albany, Minnesota. And so my son and I worked on the building for 11 months, just restoring it back to what we thought it may have looked like when it was originally built. It was originally a bank building that was built in 1896. And so we restored it back to where we thought it may have been when it was brand new. And so this was our original photography studio space where we did weddings and portraits and seniors and babies and whatever type of photography we did over the years. And now we've expanded into more of the fine art photography, where my son and I usually travel together and do landscape photography. And this last year now, we had an opportunity, or I did anyway, because Isaac's still in school, so he didn't get to go along with it all. But I had an opportunity to travel to Cuba to photograph the people and the cities in a couple different areas in Cuba. And so it was kind of a unique experience to be able to be there and photograph a place that I've wanted to go to for quite a long time now already.
And at a crucial moment in its evolution.
Yeah, absolutely.
Become, right?
Right, yeah. I certainly wanted to go there before it was opened up to tourism and to trade back to the United States again, because I think it's going to change pretty quickly. And so to be able to go at this point in time was really a treat, because there's very few Americans there, and you get to see it the way it's really been for the last 50 years since the United States has stopped trade there and stopped tourism there.
Yeah, that exact type of car. And when we see them here in the United States, we see someone who has restored them beautifully, but there's a certain aspect of seeing that vintage of car in that condition that...
Right, yeah. And when you see these cars, it's pretty amazing, because we were kind of excited to go there to see some of the different old cars that everybody talks about, that they think it's going to be an unfortunate thing down the line, that people are going to go over there once trade is opened up and tourism is opened up, that Americans are going to go over there and just buy up all these cars and bring them back here, and they'll lose a part of their history and stuff by losing all the cars. But when you see a lot of the cars, there aren't a lot of them that are worth traveling back across the ocean into the United States. A lot of them have had an amazing amount of body putty applied to them over the years just to keep them, looking halfway decent. The paint jobs are very poor. We saw a car being painted one day, and it's painted out in an alley someplace, so it's not like a dust-free area that it's going to have this pristine finish to it or whatever. And so many of the old cars you see there, you might have an old Chevy that has a Toyota engine and a Honda steering wheel, and there again, that was just, to keep it running, so they had some sort of transportation.
Well, one of the things I noticed here, I'd like you to talk about the composition of the texture of the photo in relation between the car and the architecture. Because that is, like the car, it was elegant. In its time, that must have been a magnificent building.
Oh, absolutely. The buildings are they're just not a square block or brick or cement building or a wood building. There was a lot of design in their different architecture that they had. it had to have been one of the most beautiful cities in the world at one point. Like through the 40s and 50s, I think they said it was kind of like the Las Vegas of the whole Gulf area or Caribbean area and stuff, because it was a beautiful city, you know, and hopefully they'll make it a beautiful city once again, because they're starting now. They have trade schools that they've started in Havana where students can go there and learn specific parts of redoing their buildings, whether it's doing cement work or wood work on the building, or even the electrical or plumbing. They learn specific areas of trade, and then they can go back in and restore these buildings. But it was just, to me, it was amazing just to think that where are they even going to start, because every building was in need of major repair. Every road, every sidewalk through the city seemed like it just hadn't had anything done to it for such a long time that, like I said, where do you start? You know,
well,
it's
perhaps
just
you and your son and daughter could be consultants.
yeah, right. You know, it kind of reminded me of when we ended up with this building. You know, it was like we started on something that we really didn't know anything about. You know, is to try to restore it and bring it back to something that would look nice in the end. You know, and I mean, if we can do it, I'm sure they can. You know, and I even thought at one point, you know, and when we were walking around the streets and knowing what we had done here at our gallery, I thought, wouldn't it be cool if Americans, once we patch up this relationship once again, wouldn't it be cool if we'd adopt the building and just help somebody out and fix up the exterior of it, or help them fix up the interior of it. But they're very proud people, and I'm not sure that they'd even want us to do that. Right now in Cuba, in order to own property, you have to be Cuban, so they wouldn't even let us come in there and buy something and then do that at all. But you know, wouldn't it feel nice, and as a part of our healed relationship, to be able to do something like that, you know, maybe in the future.
¿De dónde serán? Ay, mamá. ¿Serán de La Habana? Sí, señor. ¿Serán de Santiago? No. Tierra soberana. Son de la loma y cantan en llano. Ya verás cómo no, mamá, ellos son de la loma. Mamá, ellos cantan en llano. Mamá, ellos son de la loma. Mamá, ellos cantan en llano. Oiga, son de la loma. Cantan en llano, son de la loma, cantan en llano. Qué lindo suena el sinsonte en la campiña.
Architecture or buildings that have been worn over the years, but people that live there, they'll come outside their door, and like this particular lady was petting her dog right on the front steps of her place that she lived at. And so you can see here again that you'll see in every photograph almost that will go through that, you know, nothing has been done to the buildings at all. You know, they're just, the paint is peeling off, the cement is chipping away, the wood is all rotting, and kind of the paint is chipping from there as well. And you know, I didn't get a chance really, like I said, to talk to people because I don't speak Spanish, and you know, most all of them didn't speak English at all. So it was just more of a story that when I saw an image, what the image would tell in the photograph itself. So.
Did you see sometimes, as we were speaking of the commonality between the car and the building it was parked next to, did you sometimes see people that reflected the buildings?
Oh, I think so. Like the lady that you see there, you know, how she was older, you know, and kind of looked like she had gone through a lot as well, you know, and sometimes in the photographs, you don't necessarily have to show the whole person. You can just show something closer up, like this gentleman's hands. We stopped at a farm, and photographed the two old farmers. One was 70 and one was 72 years old, and they both looked like they were well into their 90s. And just the hard life that they had lived, because they don't have big tractors, they don't have big farm equipment to work with. A lot of the stuff that they do is by hand or by oxen or, you know, different thing, horse, and, you know, so theirs is a very manual kind of process yet to be able to work off the land, you know. So just look at the detail that was around the doorway at the buildings, you know, and the pride that there must have once been, but without ownership, that pride is gone now, I think, in Cuba, and now slowly they're starting to own their own places again, and hopefully that will regain that pride to fix up the buildings and to make them look like they once had been again. You know, it's a much better idea than tearing them down and building some new straight, you know, plain building. To be able to restore something like this would be amazing. You also see a lot of times, most of the time, anything that's been done in the last years, you'll see the wiring on the outside of the buildings, or the main wires that come into the building. They're just exposed, you know. It's like, that's a little dangerous, you would think, you know, but I think they just kind of get used to that part of life, you know, that they just watch their every step, you know, when they're going someplace, or because they're responsible for themselves, you know, nobody else is going to take care of them at all. It was interesting. I was walking around one Sunday morning and walked through this park area, and I was up earlier than other people were, so I was able to get this little park area without anybody walking through there or anything. And here again, you know, you see the old buildings in the background and the paint that's peeling off the doors and everything. So even though you'd have a nice area, it still had very deteriorated areas right along with it then too, you know, that just haven't been taken care of for years. These are a couple of photographs of roof lines of buildings, and actually I took this with a long lens from the casa that I stayed at. There were buildings across the road and quite a ways away, and so you see all the roof lines, and it just looks like, actually I had posted this on Facebook, and a friend of mine had mentioned that it looked like wouldn't it be neat to make a quilt out of that? It kind of looks like a patchwork quilt, and there again, that was one of those things that somebody brought to my attention, you know, and I wouldn't have thought of that otherwise, but it was very true, you know. One of the things too, and you'll see a couple of them around in the photograph here, like the barrels of, and like I said, 2 of the days I didn't have water in the morning, and so they will have barrels up on the top of the buildings in Cuba in certain different areas, and they'll fill those with an extra little supply of water, so they have a little bit of a backup for the days that they don't have something. So I imagine there were quite a few people that lived in those buildings, but you know, I don't think that, I'm not sure if they have large families or not at all in Cuba. I think just because of the economy and what it takes just to live day by day, I kind of think that their family size is pretty limited. This is another building area. We were in Trinidad and photographing, and this was a lookout tower. This was the first time that we had to climb up the ladder to get up to the top of the lookout tower to overlook the buildings and stuff. And this is where they introduced us to Cuban rum. Once you get up the ladder and get up to the top, they give you a taste of rum then. And it was pretty good, you know. You still have to get back down the ladder though, so you can't have too much of it at all. So it was an interesting place. But you know, sometimes the roofs of the buildings are living space also. So you see the railing that you see up there, and you know, there again, a barrel that they would have put water in, and a lot of times they use whatever space they can to dry their clothes, so there's wash lines around different areas that you see, and all along the streets of Cuba, almost every street that we walked on, you saw a wash hanging out on the outsides of the buildings. You know. you didn't see a lot of things like we have around in the United States. Things that aren't necessities, you wouldn't see around at all, because their money was spent on living, not doing things that were just like fun or anything, And so this is another area, another entryway to one of the buildings. There again, you see the wire that's hanging all around, and the buildings there again, the deteriorated state of them is, like that's a common theme throughout all of Havana. Trinidad itself was much nicer because they had painted actually some of their buildings and fixed up some of their buildings, but they just had their 500th anniversary, so that's the reason that they did it, is to bring it, to make it look a little nicer for their celebration that they had. So this again is, we went around at nighttime. The other car photograph that you see as well, we actually went at nighttime and photographed, so they were long exposures, and then I had a video light, so I did what was called painting with light, because the cars were kind of, the light is on the other side of the car, so the front side of the car wasn't lit at all, so I used the video light to paint the car with light to bring up the color of it and everything like that. So, but it was interesting. I wish we would have spent a lot more time at nighttime, but we worked a lot during the day, going walking, and it was hot and humid and this is actually a bell tower of the church, and it just kind of reminded me of the deterioration of everything, but to me it kind of said still the hope of the future. The bell's going to ring again, and I think it'll happen again, and I think the people of Cuba they're excited to see Americans. They love to see us. We were like heroes over there almost. That they would say, "Are you from America?" And if they could speak a little English, and then we had an interpreter with us, so we could talk a little bit back and forth that way. And they were just excited for that day to happen, because they think that's going to be the day when they turn the corner, when the prosperity will be theirs and again, and they'll be able to show their children that there's a future, again. And it's been a long, long time since they've been able to do that, and be excited about life, instead of the day-to-day struggles. And Cuban people, like I said, make $12 a month on average, and doctors are paid the same as someone who goes and picks up the trash at the side of the street, but they get a lot of their housing is paid by the government. Their education is paid by the government. They can go all the way through college. That doesn't mean that they'll necessarily be employed in what they got educated in, but the government will give them a job in the end. And their medical needs are paid by the government, so there's things like that they don't have to think about some of those things, but I'm not sure, to what extent their care really is or anything, But there's a lot of, from what I understand, there's a lot of very qualified, good doctors that come to the States and, in the end and work here then. And people that send, I think there's a lot of Cubans that work in the States that send money back to their families back in Cuba to help offset, their daily needs and everything. So.
What do you hope to communicate to people?
Just that I'm not sure if there's a specific message at all, but that we live in a pretty small world, and we live in a small town here in Albany, but to be able to travel to someplace else and experience their culture and get to know them, and even on a limited basis, well, it's good for everybody, It brings us together. I mean, we're all in this together, and to have that separation because our governments didn't get along, and I understand a lot of that, that there were things that we probably both did wrong, So let's get over it and go on from there, And I think they're so close to the United States. They could have easily just been a part of the United States, at one point. And it was just interesting just really seeing, the struggles that they've gone through because of the differences of what we think, they could have been prospering as well as any one of the other islands in the Caribbean area and stuff too.
Contrasted that you can adjust it later. Go ahead. Eyes up. Great. How's that looking? I see for you. Okay. Thank you. Okay. Now, always waiting for your shot. Very, very expensive license.
Around the sea and wall. In Havana, we have two walls. One around the sea and another the tierra, la muralla de tierra, the land wall. And it was not property of the Spanish government, the colonial government. And when they decide to build this area, they need to limpiar todo to clear all that area because it was a gran pantano.
It's a big swamp.
A big swamp. And
Bob, I'm walking on this way. Vamos. Gracias, amigo.
Wait, I thought he was.
Por el camino del sitio mío, un carretero alegre pasó. Con sus tonadas que muy sentidas y muy guajira alegre canción. Me voy al transbordador a descargar la carreta. Me voy al transbordador a descargar la carreta para cumplir con la meta de mi perosa Laboco. A caballo vamos pa'l monte, a caballo vamos pa'l monte, a caballo vamos pa'l monte, a caballo vamos pa'l monte. Yo trabajo sin reposo para poderme casar. Yo trabajo sin reposo para poderme casar. Y si lo llego a lograr, seré un guajiro dichoso. A caballo vamos pa'l monte, a caballo vamos pa'l monte, a caballo vamos pa'l monte, a caballo vamos pa'l monte.
Don't be an old.
Sweet.
Soy guajiro y carretero, en el campo vivo bien. Soy guajiro y carretero, en el campo vivo bien, porque el campo es el Edén más lindo del mundo entero. A caballo vamos pa'l monte, a caballo vamos pa'l monte, a caballo vamos pa'l monte, a caballo vamos pa'l monte. Chapea el monte, cultiva el llano, recoge el fruto de tu sudor. Chapea el monte, cultiva el llano, recoge el fruto de tu sudor.
Hold my hand out, somebody else is wiping their GoPro and take it off.
I just bought the, I don't know, I have to open my bag.
Con los codos, un cabezazo, no puedes, y tú tampoco, no puedes una herida, una herida. ¿Entiendes? Manténgase en la media, no lleguen a la corta, tú tampoco puedes tener una herida, manténgase en la media.